We'll call to order this meeting of the School Board of Independent School District 624. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Kimball?
Here.
Mullen?
Here.
Newberg?
Here.
Newmaster?
Here.
Wilson? Chapman?
Here.
Fahey here.
All right, would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I'm going to step up to the podium here for our next agenda item. For many years, our school board has been blessed with having 2 student liaisons to the school board. They provide a number of valuable functions for the school board and the community. They provide student input on a lot of issues of importance to the school board. We are well beyond school age, so it's valuable to have the input of young people like this. And we have historically asked them to engage in a research project in the spring about a topic that is of concern to the school board. This year, we have 2 new student liaisons to the school board. I'm going to introduce them, ask them to come on up, and then tell you a little bit about themselves. Our senior liaison is Ashley Renstead. Ashley, if you could come up. And our junior representative is McKenna Pratt. Ladies, welcome. Ashley, we'll let you go first.
Hi everyone, my name is Ashley Renstead. I am a senior here at South Campus. I participate in the Student Ambassadors, National Honor Society, and I also participate with our tennis and hockey teams here at White Bear. I'm really excited for this new role and being able to represent my students. I think this is a really great honor for me and I'm really excited about it.
Hi, my name is McKenna Pratt and I'm an 11th grader at White Bear. I participate in golf, tennis, Spanish club, math team, and ambassadors, and I'm excited to learn from my generation experience to better the new generations coming. Thank you for the experience.
All right, thank you, girls. We're going to seat Ashley. You will be our primary liaison, so you can be seated and begin participating in the meetings. McKenna, we strongly encourage you to be present at all of our regular and work study meetings, and we'll try to make it as fun as we can for you. Welcome, ladies. Thank you. All right, we have before us an agenda for this evening's meeting. We've had an opportunity to review that for several days. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
I think Mr. Mullen had it by a nose. We'll give Mr. Mullen the motion, second by Mr. Chapman. Any discussion or requests for additions? Right, all in favor of the agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Right, the agenda is approved. We also have before us a consent agenda, which consists of a number of routine matters that appear before the school board on a monthly basis. Some are financial, some are personnel related. But every single month in the 11 years I've been on the board, we have a resolution to accept gifts because generous people and organizations are always making gifts to the school board. This month is no exception. Let me highlight just 2 or 3. We have both a local church and a local dental practice donating many backpacks and school supplies to support our young learners as they're beginning this new school year. Also a medical clinic participated in that as well. And also the White Bear Lake Lions Club, a routine and generous donor to the school district, donated $1,500 in equipment to support our White Bear Lake Area High School track program. Thank you to those and all of the other donors to the district. Seeing that, is there a motion to accept the consent agenda? A motion by Ms. Newmaster. Is there a second?
Second.
A second by Ms. Fahey. This calls for a roll call vote.
Kimball?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Newberg?
Aye.
Newmaster?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Fahey, aye.
The consent agenda passes. We now turn to the part of the agenda of public forum. This is an opportunity for members of the public to address the board on issues of interest or concern to them. We do ask people who want to address the board to fill out a card located on the table against the far wall and bring it up to the dais before speaking. We also have kind of the rules for public forum set forth on that. Is there any member of the public here tonight who would like to address the school board? All right, seeing none, we'll turn to our first information item, and that is C1, the opening school report. Dr. Kazmierczak.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I'd like to welcome members of our leadership team, including our cabinet members, to step forward and to give a review of, in some cases, some of the work over the summer, and then in particular here, as we've started the school year, a report on the beginning of the school year. So Sarah Paul, our Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, will kick us off.
Welcome, Ms. Paul.
Thank you, Chair Newberg, Dr. Kazmierczak, members of the board. We're excited to give you an update on what we've been doing in deep preparation for a successful start to the school year. Our first area that we wanted to talk about was professional development. We had time with you at the last work study to have an extensive conversation about all the work we've been doing to design for student success. And we shared about our data retreat in which school teams were participating to look at data and really be thoughtful about school improvement plans to really figure out how we can target and focus in areas of improvement for the upcoming school year. And we also talked about collaborative inquiry teams, CITs, and you're going to hear a lot about that through the year because it's the way we're designing in time to collaborate for staff to have a chance to connect and make sure they're really thinking about what they can do to adjust instruction to meet student needs, as well as what that looks like at the student level, time to collaborate and be in conversation with students within the classroom. And the big idea around this is that we talked about how people in education talk a lot about knowledge is power, and we are really looking at how knowledge sharing is power, and we're really designing that in as part of a key element in the work that we're doing this year. The full presentation from the work study is available to the public on the website if anyone would like to see in more detail about the professional development work that we have been engaged in. The next area that we wanted to talk about was this concept of welcome back conferences. Across every elementary school in the district, we, for the second year, engaged in an innovative model called Welcome Back Conferences, in which every student had the opportunity to be in conversation with their parents and their teachers to really talk about and get excited about the upcoming school year. And the purpose really is threefold. Relationships, relationships, relationships. It's really all about the connection of those three key groups, students, teachers, and families having a chance to learn from each other and focus on meeting the needs and getting excited about all the interests, learning styles, and talents that students have so they can enter the school year confident. And then also part of that experience, every school had stations set up in which not only did they have time with the classroom teacher to learn about the school year, but to also have a chance to read with their teacher, because reading is such a critical part of instruction, so they could know what reading level students were at. And then they also had a chance to go to stations around the school in order to do a lot of things that typically interrupt the first month of school. And so all of those things like bus safety drills and different screening assessments, getting a chance to know different people in the building, lunchroom accounts, all of that was taken care of before the school year started. And we're going to be doing some surveys of students, and of parents, and of teachers this week, and then we'll be sharing the results of those surveys with you later on in the fall. The second key area we wanted to share with you is the importance of secondary transitions. Two critical transitions that we really designed for are transitioning from elementary to middle school, and then also from middle school to high school. And so that planning starts early. For example, in 5th grade, there's interactions with teachers and staff from the middle school with students that are in 5th grade that are going to be entering middle school. But then in the summer we do something that starts with a web program, and at the high school it's called Link Crew, and that's a chance for there to be some connections student to student with some really great teacher advisors that participate to make sure those transitions are successful. And it continues with touch points throughout the school year. And we just wanted to highlight this critical work that happens with transitions, because in talking to the teachers, the thing that they think is most important to that success of those programs is our student leaders. And those are students that are taking a lot of their personal time to give back to the students that they're going to be experiencing school with to make sure that they are starting off successful. So we wanted to make sure to take the time to publicly thank all the students that take the time to be part of those 2 school programs. So lots more to share, but I'm going to hand it off here, and you'll hear a lot more in terms of how everything we've been doing at the start of the school year is connected to the rest of the work that we'll be engaged in this year. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Paul. And it looks like Mr. Wald is on second.
Yes, good evening, Madam Chair, members of the board. The Finance and Operations Department plays an important role in getting the school year off to a good start. I'd like to introduce the members of our team who have worked so hard to make sure everything's ready. 3 weeks into the job, welcome Tom Wazorek, our Director of Finance. Tom.
Welcome, Mr. Mazurek.
Thank you. It's been a fast 3 weeks, and I'm thank you for letting me allow me to speak. In my department, we're kind of behind the scenes, so when school starts, you really don't see us out hustling and bustling. But we do have a few things that are in process, and that's the audit. My third day, or actually my first day, we were halfway through the audit. So. And 2 days later, we had our first audit meeting. So it's in the process, and we should be completed here hopefully in a couple weeks. We're waiting on a couple things, but we'll get there. And then the other thing is that one of the hardest or biggest things that we have on our plate is the September 15th payroll, which is the first payroll of the school year, and when everybody gets paid for the first time. So we're right now deeply into the payroll process. So thank you.
Thank you.
Next, highlighting nutrition services is Bridget Lane, our nutrition services coordinator.
Welcome, Ms. Lane.
Hello. Get to some pictures for you guys this evening. So I wanted to highlight a little bit of what we did over the summer, and most of this is grant work. I know you're all familiar with the grants that we did this past summer. So on the right, you'll see the pictures of the brand new salad bar that is at Central Middle School, replacing some equipment that was at least 30 years old. Some were not quite sure how old it actually was. So brand new equipment there. Down in the center is Roxanne Knops at ALC and Susan Grun at South Campus. They are managers who attended the annual national conference for the School Nutrition Association in Atlanta this summer, and they represented our district at the Winston booth where we got the 10 pieces of warming units, and they're all installed and beautiful in each of our kitchens. And then on the top left is our new Grab and Go, which is our breakfasts. That is at South Campus. That started on the first day of school. And then North Campus starts this coming Thursday. So everything's in place and working well so far. The other big thing we're doing this year is increasing our farm to school and our local kind of movement. And so we're partnering with the Good Acre, which is a food hub in Falcon Heights. We spent a day there with all of the cooks and their assistant managers, and so you'll see some of the things that they did, knife skills, but really learning how to prep the produce that comes from the farmers. Might not be perfectly round, might have a little blemish here or there, so learning how to cook all that up, roast it, prep it, and they're having a really great time. So we should be seeing 1 to 2 items every month from now until March of locally grown produce throughout the state.
Ms. Lane, have we actually served Brussels sprouts yet in our schools?
Have not, and I tell you what, that was a leftover, so we're not doing them yet this year either, but after they get all up and running, hopefully we'll do that next year. And
more power to you if you can get the little kids to eat those little Brussels sprouts.
It might be a very small day, but we'll see what happens.
Thank you, Ms. Lane.
Coordinating transportation for a school district our size takes a little bit of science and a little bit of magic. And coordinating all of that is Mike Torito.
Welcome, Mr. Torito.
Thank you. Good evening. And a little bit of luck. I think he left out the luck part. Yeah, some of the new things in transportation this year. Some of the numbers, these are regular ed students that we're transporting to our schools. I pulled this about a week ago and looked in our system today, and we have about 50 more students today than we had enrolled or riding the bus last Monday. So we've been through the 3 starts. Early childhood was started today, so that was challenging. And then we'll have more early childhood kids starting tomorrow that are on Tuesday, Thursday schedules. So it's always challenging. One of the things that we're very proud of is the miles. If you look at the miles We probably are about 500 miles less on the average bus that we're driving, and I think that's due to some efficiencies we've been able to create after we added a few buses to the fleet. So we have about 4 new buses this year, between buses and vans and so forth, that have been added. And then also our facility, we got new lighting and an epoxy floor put down, so things are cleaned up. But we are bursting at the seams over there, and we're able, one of the nice things is we're able to retain all of our drivers for the most part and cover our routes, so we're very fortunate. So with that, that's it.
Thank you, Mr. Trito.
Thank you.
And finally, safe, clean facilities make for a great start to the school year, and that work is led by Dan Rozier, our manager of our facilities and custodial supervisor.
Welcome, Mr. Rozier. I always enjoy your report on all the work you've done over the previous summer.
Yeah, well, it wasn't a summer of huge projects or building additions, but it was a really busy summer for buildings and grounds. Carpet was our major theme this summer. We had a lot of 20, 30-year-old carpet that we ended up replacing at many facilities. I'd say over half our facilities, we've got new carpet in certain areas. So I've got a couple slides showing the Otter Lake hallways and some kindergarten rooms over at Willow Lane that we replaced. We got some nice bright orange tile in the kindergarten rooms to make it fun, and it was really needed. It's a great improvement at them sites. I also want to highlight one of the grounds projects. On the bottom right, you'll see the playground addition from Willow Lane. The community over there, the PTO staff, they really worked hard for about a year, raising money, getting grants, saving cans, box tops, and finally this summer they were able to pull the trigger on this new playground addition. And all the work was provided by volunteers. I stopped by on Friday evening, and they had former students helping, former staff, current staff, parents, community members. It was quite the sight. There was probably 30 to 40 volunteers on Friday night when I came there. Everything was in boxes, parts, pieces. I came back Monday morning, and all the equipment was put together in place. All we needed to do is fill up the wood chips, and we've got a beautiful new playground addition at Willow Lane. So thanks for all the volunteers who helped make that happen. I was over there last week. I seen Mr. Cooper open up the doors to let his gym class out, and about 30 kids flocked to that spinner piece of equipment over there. It was pretty cool. The kids love it, so hats off to them. And in building and grounds this summer, it's such a huge team effort. Our custodians, maintenance team, truck drivers, painters, you name it, everybody's teams up, pulls together. They want staff to come in to clean buildings. They want students to walk in the nice shiny floors, and a big thank you to the crews. They did a fabulous job this year.
Thank you, Mr. Rozier. Daniels, welcome.
Good evening, Chair Newberg, members of the school board, Dr. Kazmierczak. So for student support services, first I want to say that all of our staff and many of our students participate in all of the offerings that the schools provide in the summer, whether it's through community education, other summer school things, tech camps, all kinds of things. So I do want to speak specifically about student support services, but I just want to let you know that they participate in everything, because first and foremost, our staff and our students are members of the greater school community, so they've been welcomed into every activity that's been happening across the district. So some of the things that we've worked on specifically this summer is preparing for our Project Search program down at Gillette Hospital, and as most of you know, this is our first year. We have launched the program successfully, and the staff that are from our district had to learn all the rotations this summer of all the jobs that the students have an opportunity to rotate through. They'll get to select 3 of the many that are available, so each of the 6 students pick 3, and our staff had to learn all of them just in case those were the first, second, or third choice that the students picked. And they had to develop many accommodations to help the students be successful in those opportunities and design a workspace. So we had a chance to take a tour last week of the workspace and the facility where they'll be housed for the summer or for the school year. And Gillette provided some great equipment and lots of opportunity for them. for the school year. And just some of the training and staff development is a TransMath program, which we've been using for several years, but we actually sent a teacher to be trained to Texas so she can come back and train all of our staff every year on that particular curriculum, which we're really excited about. We had a school psych that was trained in Yoga Calm, which has been shown to be really effective for some of our students that need to have some regulation during the day and relax a little bit. So we have our own in-house trainer for that. Again, student plans and a new tech culture and climate program has been developed up at the Transition Education Center. We have 3 new programs this year too, so we've been busy getting the rooms ready. We have a behavior program at Birch, a functional academic program at Lake Ayres, and an autism spectrum disorder program at Onika. So the rooms have been cleaned, and equipment has been added, and lots of things to prepare for those students coming into those programs. And then secondly, our extended school year program was in full force. Many of our students attend the summer school program, but we had about 179 eligible students for our ESY program, and about 122 attended. So 7 of those, thank you. 7 of those students were engaged in a paid employment at South Campus or at the Senior Center for Meals on Wheels, and we had about 54 staff members. And it's interesting with our staff because many of the students that are employed, or staff that are employed in the summer, aren't the same teachers that are working with those students during the school year, so they have to really learn a lot fast about each student and each individual program. So they work so hard and they do such an awesome job for our students. Transportation's provided free breakfast and snack, and we had 3 locations, Normandy, Otter Lake, and South Campus. And then we had other students who have an adjusted ESY program, and they're individually seen at various locations throughout the district. So we were pretty busy all summer. So any questions? Or okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Ms. Daniels. Garrison.
Madam Chair, members of the board. It's a busy summer, as they always are for us in the technology department. When staff and students are away, it's a chance for us to get in and check every piece of equipment district-wide. And also, as of the last few years, it's a chance for us to employ some students in our department as part of the important work we're doing in the summer, and also as part of our college and career readiness, that these students get a real job experience that they interview for, they get paid for, and they develop real job skills, both technology skills and then just those skills that come with working in an adult office environment and what that's like. They do all of our Chromebook preparation. As Chromebooks come in, they do a lot of cardboard management, just unboxing things and dealing with all that cardboard, flattening it out to reduce the cost of recycling, and a lot of services that really we could not do without those student workers. We don't have all 20 working at any given time. What we tell kids is if you ever have to choose between going to the beach with your family and coming to work, you should go to the beach with your family. And so we try to make it so we have enough students that they can work at a time that's convenient to them and they really want to be there. So we have 4-hour shifts with 4 to 6 students per shift. And it's worked out great all summer long. This summer we also had a student manager who managed her crew, and that was really exciting to see 2 students stepping up into leadership roles in that group. We also upgraded every single machine, every single PC in the district to Windows 10. Which is just a major undertaking because the Tier 2 technicians went through actually with a core group of the student workers to touch every single PC in the district and upgrade the operating system, make sure all the equipment was compatible, test everything, and get it up and running. So we're real happy with how that went. In addition to that, North and South got new PCs this year. And that was, that's part of the annual replacement cycle we take on every year. We are continuing to put digital displays in. We're finding that just the quality of the digital displays makes a big improvement in the classrooms over the projection, and so that's been really fun to see. And then, of course, we hosted some professional development this summer as well, some Google-specific training, and then also some training around how to rearrange your classroom to really leverage space to help in teaching. In addition to that, some system upgrades this year. Illuminate, which I've talked to you about a little bit before, our new data warehouse and also a collaborative curriculum tool. ClassLink, which I know we've talked about quite a bit, which is a single sign-on solution. All staff right now have ClassLink access, as do students. This week, K1 students are getting little badges so that they can log in without signing in, which should save K1 a lot of time and make just their use of technology a little easier here, especially at the start of the year. And then the parent piece of ClassLink will go out later this month. We've got one last piece to sort out with ClassLink that is just taking a little longer than we'd anticipated, but it should be ready by the end of this month. And then as one additional upgrade that I didn't put on this slide was we also have a backup generator now in our head end room here at District Center. We just happen to be in a place where our electricity use is not 100% reliable, and when electricity goes down and our head end room goes down here, then we lose internet district-wide. So that backup generator will help to hold internet access throughout the district in case of a electrical outage. So we're real excited about that. And then the last thing is, on the first 2 days of school, we distributed 4,300 Chromebooks to every 6th through 12th grade student in the district. That's a massive undertaking of logistics that involves a lot of people, both in my department and at the 4 secondary buildings. So we're really grateful to the secondary schools for their support and making for really smooth rollouts. And of course, I'm very grateful to my team for all the work they did this summer, and especially for making that happen. Now that the secondary one-to-one is out, we're working on elementary Chromebook distribution. Every 3rd through 5th grade student will have access to a Chromebook during the school day, and then K2 will split for one Chromebook for every 2 students. So that's the extent of our start of the year rollout.
Mr. Garrison. Cooper, welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Madam Chair, Board, Dr. Kazmierczak. I want to give you an update on human resource, what we've been doing. As you know, we've had a lot of people come through our new employee orientation. It's good to know exactly who those individuals are and what they look like, kind of the makeup of those individuals. As you know, without the asset of having personnel in place, a building would be just brick and mortar. So staff plays a pretty important part in what makes us a district, and also who ends up serving the students that we provide such great educational services to. So it'd be nice to take a look at who those individuals are and what the makeup of those individuals are. As you can see, we have 47 licensed staff that we hired this year and 91 non-licensed staff that we hired. So these are all the new hires for the FY 17-18 school year that we just brought on board. This is a big undertaking to hire this many staff within a year's time, or pretty much over the summer period. And this is the educational level of those individuals. As you can see, half of the licensed staff. The reason that we can't capture all staff for educational, to identify their educational level, is because of the way our salary structure is set up. The teaching staff is the only one that allows us to put into our system the educational levels that they have. And so because we can't capture that up front, we can't extract it from the system for anybody who's not licensed. So that's why I just identified the teacher's educational level and not anybody who's not a teacher or a licensed staff for that reason. We just can't extract that information from our system. So 29 individuals have master's degrees. As you can see, the majority of people that we hired is highly educated with a master's level degree. And then 18 of those have bachelor's degrees and 0 associates. As you can see, the 0 associates goes along with being a teacher. You have to have a bachelor's degree to get a teacher program. So we go without say that we wouldn't have anybody that would have an associate's degree in that particular group. And I know that Dr. Kazmierczak had identified the makeup of our student body as being more diverse. So we need to make sure that we are also growing our staff that serve those students that are diverse as well. As you can see, we have a lot of work to do in that area. 8 were Hispanic, 3 Asian, 120 white, 4 black, African American, 0 American Indian, 0 Native Hawaiian, Pacific Islanders is the staff that we hired. How that works out percentage-wise is under this chart here. 90% white, 3%. I'm colorblind, so this is going to be a challenge. I think say 3% black, 5% Hispanic, and 2% Asian. I think I got that right. This kind of goes along with the demographics that we're working with in the state of Minnesota. Whites make up the majority of the group in Minnesota, So this kind of reflects that as well. But we do have some work to do. We know we can do more recruitment of individuals of color. And so that's what we'll be working on for the next school year. And hopefully these numbers will look different than they are now. That reflects our student base. Another thing that we've been working on is electronic tracking system for time. Under the Affordable Care Act and the Fair Labor Standards Act, FLSA, it requires us to have an accurate tracking system for time. And also we want to make sure that our staff gets paid correctly. And so we implemented True Time as a new tracking system for anybody who is work under an hourly rate. Salaried employees are not under True Time, just individuals who are under an hourly rate. And so that's the reason that we implemented that, is for accuracy and tracking for our ACH purposes. As you know, ACH has a look-back period. We have to be able to identify those individuals who've worked enough hours to be able to qualify for benefits, 30 or more hours. So we have to have a system that tracks that and have a look-back period to determine if they have worked those hours to qualify for benefits. So, so this system is ACA compliant and FLSA compliant as well.
Thank you, Mr. Cooper.
You're welcome.
Mara, welcome.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. I have a lot of information to cover in 3 slides, so I'm going to jump right in. So obviously, you know, community ed doesn't take any breaks in the summertime. Our community services and recreation department is very busy throughout the summer. Throughout the adult recreation, we had 35 softball teams participate in our softball league this summer between co-ed and male teams. And currently, which doesn't really take a break, it's almost year-round, we have 102 members in our adult pickleball club. So pickleball continues to rise. So, and throughout our summer, with the variety of opportunities we offer to our students and youth in the community in regards to summer camps, enrichment, and throughout, we just have a lot of numbers, just noteworthy numbers I'd like to share. We had almost 500 kids participate in our T-ball program over the summer, and over 700 youth participated in our youth enrichment classes in areas of robotics, art, geology, computer coding, driver's ed, fishing, which is the picture you see up there, and then dance and music. Some notable numbers for music that were really fantastic to see. We had 188 students participate in our summer band this summer, which was very, very nice. And this is the first year that we've also offered a summer orchestra camp. And the teachers that came to approach us to that were hoping to get maybe 25 to 30 students, and we had 81 students participate in summer orchestra. So some really good numbers. And this was also the first summer that we had a student-driven summer community theater show. So they ran the show Bonnie and Clyde over the summer. You know, first year doing it, and they learned a lot, and they look forward to continue this, to make this a new tradition going forward in the summer. So our adult and senior programs, we hosted a Community Bridges T-ball tournament for adults with disabilities. Just a few weeks ago, seems longer than that, but just a few weeks ago we did the Bear Boating Pontoon and Community Boat Day, where community members donate their time and their pontoons to take seniors and other adults for a ride on the river for a couple hours. So we had over 100 seniors out on White Bear Lake. The EFS Monthly Mobile Market at Normandy Park on the busiest day served over 100 households on the biggest days to get food out to people, to those who need it. And then our volunteer appreciation event we had here hosted a lunch from our senior center, celebrated over 250 senior volunteers who donated 7,500 hours of their time last year to assist our programs. And just to make another volunteer note, with our numbers for T-ball and other rec sports, you just have to take a moment to recognize all of our parents and other adults in the community that volunteer their time to coach our youth and our kids in our rec program. So I just want to represent them as well. Some upcoming events we have coming up here right away in September. On the 21st, we are doing a fall movie at the Hippodrome. So it'll start at 5:30. Families can bring their little ones to rollerblade, roller skate, bring their scooters, and ride around on the cement in the Hippodrome. And then we will be showing the Lego Batman movie as a little family movie night that night. That same day, we also have our Creating Dementia Friendly Communities Awareness Kickoff. So if you're in the mood that day and you're thinking about it, wear purple to show support for that. September 23rd at Normandy Park, we have our Senior Housing Awareness Day. October 14th is our 4th annual Bear Power Homecoming Run, the 6.24K walk run over at South Campus. And then if you are out on the website, just take a look at our fall middle school sports schedule. We have plenty of sporting activities to go take a look at. So, and then another just awesome news to share is that a lot of our programs are growing. And just to take a minute to shine a light on those, we've added sections in our ECFE and ECSE over at Birch Elementary in our classrooms that we have, the 3 added classrooms that we did this summer. We shared with you guys throughout the course of last year our application for voluntary pre-K, which was a big drive of Governor Dayton to get as many students involved in free preschool as he could. Throughout the term of meeting with the legislator, they did transition that. They kept voluntary pre-K and also offered a new opportunity called School Readiness Plus. We did apply for 4 sites within our district. When given the option at the point where they said you can either continue with voluntary pre-K or transition your application to School Readiness Plus, we did feel that School Readiness Plus better fit with how we operate in our early childhood programs. So we applied for 4 sites. Of the 4, 1 application did get approved. And just to make a note of how lucky we are to have that done, there was a total of 327 applications throughout the district that applied for originally voluntary pre-K. Of those, 84 applications did transition their application to School Readiness Plus. They approved 12. We were one of the 12. And out of the remaining 243 applications that stuck with voluntary pre-K, only 82 were approved. So very, very lucky to be able to offer that to our families. So Birch Lake was not one of the sites that was awarded the School Readiness Plus, so we did have 1 vacant classroom there of the 3. Which allowed us to offer an additional section of Bare Fundamentals, which is a additional option we offer for preschool families for 4-year-olds, a pre-kindergarten experience, but it's full day. So it's not necessary, that does not fall under our early childhood programs. It's an additional alternative option that we offer. So we have space there. We have currently 9 kids enrolled at the Bare Fundamentals full day, which is very nice to see. We will have room for more as soon as we are always hiring more staff for all of our programs. So on that note, our extended day program continues to grow. All of our sites currently have waiting lists. So I will ask and plead the board and any people watching at home that if you know any qualified staff members that might be interested in working at our schools and working with our youth, to please take a minute and go onto our website and put out an application. If you guys know of anybody that you think would be a great fit that's looking for some work like this, we really encourage you to send them our way or send them onto our website to apply for jobs. Because as soon as we get more staff in, we can start bringing kids off those wait lists, and parents will be a little more excited, a little more happy to get their kids involved in our programs. So, let's see. Our Summer Flex program that we met and spoke with you at our last work study session, we did expand it into the middle school for the first time this year during the school year. So it's a student-driven out-of-school time program, and we're offering that both at Sunrise and Central Middle Schools after school Monday through Thursday. So we have enough kids within both those schools to run sections at both sites, so we're really happy to see that. In our rec sports, this is our 3rd year running flag football. We've even added a 4th grade, I don't want to call it section, but a 4th grade league, so to speak. We have over 200 kids participating in our flag football this summer, and our fall soccer program has over around 450 participants, creating 45 teams. So kids are busy and active, and we're happy to see them participate in our programs. And then my last slide, Tracy Cook, our youth enrichment and development programmer, brings a lot of neat and unique new fun ideas to her program area that we have not participated in or not have before in White Bear. One of which this year she partnered with the YMCA Camp Minojan and was able to get a really nice deal and offer to bring 7 students up to the Boundary Waters over the summer for a week-long trip. So she was hoping to get 7. We ended up with 4 kids. We partnered at the time with Principal Wald at South Campus in our AVID program, and we're able to get some of our AVID students to participate and go along with her. So they spent a week up at the Boundary Waters paddling between Canada and the U.S., and their students are based off student recommendations from the AVID program. And it was really neat to hear her come back with all the stories and the kids that were just so thankful to have the opportunity. They said, I never would have had this experience ever, like in my regular life if this wasn't offered to us. They were really, really happy, really pleased to to have that opportunity to go up there. They can't wait to, Tracy's already kind of hit them up to promote that for this coming summer. She already was contacted by the Y this summer that they let her know that their schedule should be done in November, so they hope to be able to plan more trips for her this summer as well. The goal would be to offer 2 sets of 7, so we're trying to get 14 kids up there, maybe an all-female group 1 week and then an all-male group 1 week to go up to have these leadership experiences as well. And yeah, that was that. So, yeah.
Wow.
So we've been very, very busy. Lots of good stuff going on. But on that note, I will hand it over to Marissa Vetti.
Thank you, Mr. Marr.
You're welcome.
Welcome, Ms. Vetti.
Hi there. I'll keep this very short and sweet. I know we just had a major update last month as well from the communications office. We've been busy over the summer behind the scenes supporting our schools and our programs. And so give you just a taste of the documents, the publications that we've done, some mailings that we've helped the schools with, some videos that we've done for our new principals and new superintendent, and then materials that we have for our local operating levy renewal coming up, and then a welcome initiative that we had to staff and to families as well. So that was all happening during the summer, and then preparing for this school year. Of course, we'll, and I'm sorry, the Back to School Bears as well, part of that welcome. And then we will continue to do what we always do. Lots of fun activities and initiatives. Some of the changes that I know you're going to be seeing. We've changed the name of our 62.4 second updates, so now it's the weekend. 62.4 seconds. We're changing the way that we do our 624 updates. We're working more in doing some other things with translations, and then we will be working, of course, this school year, as all of us will be working on our local operating levy renewal, getting information out about that, our strategic planning process, and then the comprehensive facilities planning coming up as well. So our office will be very involved with that as we move forward through the school year. And so with that, welcome to the new school year, and I think we're open for questions if you have
thank you to all of you. For anybody who thinks that schools just shut down in the summer and nothing happens, they should have been here the last 42 minutes. This is very, very impressive. Does anybody have any questions or discussion for any of our presenters? Yes, Mr. Mullen.
Excuse me. I just want to thank everybody. Thank you all for the work that you're doing. It's making a difference in the schools, and thank you all very much.
Well, thank you to all of you. That was extremely impressive. So, all right, we'll move to our next information item, C2, and that's an update from the White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation. Dr. Kazmierczak.
Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to welcome Connie Menny, the president of White Bear Lake Area Educational Foundation, and Don Hank, the executive director, to share out about all the great things that they are doing.
Well, welcome, Ms. Menny. Ms. Hank.
Thank you.
Good to see you again.
Thank you, Chair Newberg, members of the school board, and Dr. Kazmierczak. Thank you for the opportunity to come and speak with you and kind of share an update of the cool things that we're doing. As I think all of you are aware, we are a foundation and we are a key partner of the school. As part of that, we give out grants throughout the school year, enhancing the classrooms, enhancing the educational opportunities for the students, as well as enhancing the educational opportunities and experiences of teachers. Get this last year we distributed over $160,000. Over $160,000, which is really a powerful statement to the commitment of our community and our funders to this school district. Some of that went to our BROCIUS grants, which are our classroom grants. Some of that went to our Glassroot teachers scholarships, which gave away opportunities to teachers to enhance their educational or life experiences. We have BEAR grants, giving funding to unique opportunities. Sometimes we have teachers, faculty approaching us with a wish list that doesn't quite fit into one of our other grants. We have Ryan Art Grants, which provide funding and support for teachers in terms of art supplies. We gave money to the Writing Center. We gave money on behalf of one of our donors to the band. We gave away student scholarships. And all of this touches our students. Some of the key things that touch our students very personally are our Angel Fund, as well as the closet. And Dawn is going to share just a little bit about that.
Good evening. As Connie said, you know, we can say that virtually every student that comes through the district has been touched by the foundation. There isn't a student that hasn't been positively impacted. And one of the things that we focus on is the closet. The closet is located in the ALC building. And what the closet is, I'm sure most of you know, however, the closet is a classroom that we have structured for families and students who would like to come in and shop free. They make a private appointment with their principal, and then we set it up so that one of our volunteers can meet them at the closet. And what we try to provide in particular is cold weather clothing. So hats and boots and jackets. And you might be surprised to hear that already since August 15th, we've had 12 families, including 33 students, that have already visited the closet. It's shocking. We're amazed at how busy we've been already this fall. Last year, we served over 60 families, including 150 children. So clearly, there's a need. That's an important part of the work that we do every day. And we're excited by the support that we get from the community. I was contacted last week by White Bear Bar and Grill, just a couple blocks over, and they donated all kinds of new items and gently used items, and they're actually doing a boot drive right now, warm weather or cold weather boots. So if folks are interested, the White Bear Bar and Grill would be happy to accept your boots, and they'll make sure that we get those for students who need them when the snow gets deep. So there's some great things that the closet is doing. Part of the closet work is the Angel Fund, and we've had people who have had house fires and circumstances beyond their control that need assistance, whether it be for funding for temporary housing or prescriptions, and those are just a little bit of part of what the Angel Fund is. Questions?
Well, let me just wrap it up by saying we couldn't do what we do without the support of our school board and most certainly our community. And Scott Wilson is our liaison. He does a fabulous job. We're so excited, and we really appreciate the work he does on behalf of us. But our biggest fundraiser, just to give a little plug, is coming up at the end of the month. And it's going to be on September 29th at the Dellwood Country Club. That's where we set up a wonderful event. We have a live auction, we have silent auction, we have all kinds of fun, really. And so we invite the community as a whole and certainly our school board to join us at that. But basically, we just want to thank our community and let us all know that the good things that are happening with this foundation. So thank you.
Thank you. I will be at your foundation event on September 29th, and for the live auction, I have my eye on that opportunity to drive big construction equipment. It's like kind of monster trucks.
Yes.
Oh, I'm very excited about this.
Cool.
Awesome. Does anyone have any questions or comments for either Ms. Benny or Ms. Hank?
Thank you.
Yes, good work. Thanks so much, ladies. All right, we'll turn to our final information item, C3, and that's the superintendent's report. Dr. Kazmierczak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. We enjoyed welcoming students back last week for the 2017-18 academic year. Throughout the district, there were many excited smiles as young ones entered our front doors after a summer vacation, or in some instances, for the first time. We wish all of our students a terrific year. Mark your calendars for this year's homecoming week, October 9th through the 13th. A variety of activities are planned for the week, but a few community celebrations to be sure to mark on your calendar are Monday, October 9th, the coronation at South Campus at 7 p.m. Friday, October 13th, the homecoming parade in downtown White Bear Lake at 3 o'clock, and then the homecoming football game at South Campus Stadium at 7 o'clock p.m. that evening. On Saturday, October 14th, our homecoming Bear Power 6.24K family fun run and walk at South Campus beginning at 9 a.m. In addition to our weekly e-newsletters and usual information share-outs, we invite you to enjoy 2 624 inspired initiatives on our district Facebook and Twitter pages. Every Friday, the district will post a video update of the week in 62.4 seconds. And every morning, right around 6:24 a.m., we will share district facts on the district's Facebook and Twitter pages. District community members age 65 and older are invited to apply for our Senior Activity Pass, which allows free entry into a variety of activities for entertainment, home athletic contests, concerts, and theater productions, to name a few. For more information, call the superintendent's office at 651-407-7563. And we invite community members to learn more about the district's local operating levy renewal that will be held, that will be on the ballot on November 7th. Find information on the district's website at, bear with me here, www.isd624.org/local operating levy renewal. Additionally, residents are invited to attend informational meetings about the levy renewal. We have one on September 28th here at District Center. We have one October 4th at Vadnais Heights Elementary and October 5th at Hugo City Hall. Now I'd like to welcome Ashley Renstead for her first student report.
Thank you, Dr. Kosmachek. To start off with, I'd like to highlight two of our White Bear Lake High School seniors, Megan Gamrod and Kaylee Wessler. This summer, they started their own nonprofit business to raise money. Okay.
The microphones are very sensitive.
Okay. To raise money for Solid Ground, which is a transition shelter for people struggling to afford housing. They were inspired to do this because of their experience volunteering with the homeless on several different occasions. They were able to raise over $1,000 in a couple of months by selling the products they made. They will both continue to tutor at Solid Ground during the school year. As many of you know, fall sports started in mid-August and are off to a good start. Many teams have started their games, matches, and meets and are representing White Bear well. We are proud that we have dedicated student athletes and fans who conduct themselves in a sportsmanlike manner at all events. As for Student Council, our first meeting will be held this week. We will begin our year by volunteering helping parents get around the school at the Parent Open House. Then on this Friday, we will hold the Harvest Bowl football game, where all spectators can donate 3 non-perishable food items to receive free admission to the game. Student Council members will be there to collect food and load it into a truck to bring it to the White Bear Lake area food shelf. The third upcoming event is our free donut distribution to the Welcome Back to Students of South Campus. Another event this week is the Superfan Summit. This Wednesday, a group of leaders and superfans from South Campus will go to the Roseville Oval for an opportunity to collaborate and learn from like-minded leaders from all throughout the Suburban East Conference. We are excited to hear the ideas they come back with. In all, the school year has been off to a great start. South Campus students have given a warm welcome to our new principal, Mr. Bosch, and we are looking forward to another fantastic school year. Thank you.
Well, thank you, Dr. Kosmachek, and thank you, Ashley Renstead. And we did induct Ashley Renstead and McKenna Pratt as our 2 student liaisons earlier in the meeting, and welcome to both of you. We look forward to working with you throughout the year. All right, we'll turn to our first discussion item, D1, and that is discussion of school board district administrative priorities for this coming school year. Dr. Kosmachek.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'd like to welcome Mr. Tim Wald, our Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, and Ms. Sarah Paul, our Assistant Superintendent for Teaching and Learning, to talk through the priorities for this coming year. Back in July, we talked about this with the board at a work study meeting, and we're here simply to report out to our public about the priorities for the coming year. So welcome, Ms. Paul and Mr. Wald.
Thank you, Dr. Kosmachek, Chair Newberg, members of the board. We are excited about the areas of priority that we have established that we're continuing from last year regarding how we're designing for student success. First area is improving instructional practices, and we have several instructional coaches that are at work in our building, and then alongside the time to collaborate for staff to be able to get together and really look at how to improve and adjust the environment to better meet the student needs. We are very excited this is going to be a critical strategy that we really move forward and continue to really look at how we're continuing to further engage students and design and put changes in place to really help them benefit the most they can from all of the experiences that we have planned for them in school. The second area has to do with college and career readiness. We are a district that's known for the number, an expansive number of college course offerings. And one of the things we want to make sure to do is that students that really have shown the skills and the abilities and interest to be in college level courses but for some reason have not registered, we've been very thoughtful to hold a mirror back to ourselves about what some of those barriers might be so that every student that is showing they're prepared to be in these courses is actually encouraged and then supported when they take these courses. And so we just want to make sure that those opportunities that we're well known for are truly being accessed by all the students that are ready for them. In addition to that, we are very excited to continue to expand our work with our career areas of focus for our career pathway offerings. We have 4 career pathways in terms of healthcare, IT, manufacturing, and construction. And we've been really doing a lot of work to make sure that we're designing pathways that connect students to opportunities while they're in high school so that when they graduate, they can really move forward, whether it's into a career right out of high school, 2-year degree, or a 4-year degree opportunity. And so we're going to continue to really dig deep into that area. We have shared with you that you really encouraged us as a board to really add a career pathway last year, the healthcare pathway, and we were just wanting to make sure we didn't go beyond our capacity, but we did do that, and we've had tremendous benefit to our students. So we just thank you for the collaborative partners that you are in this work to make sure that we really are establishing the right priorities and that we're working to make sure that we bring all of those opportunities forward for our students. And then the last area, one of the things that we want to always make sure to do that as we're looking at our strategic work, we're aligning it with expectations that we have from the state in terms of the world's best workforce expectations. And we want to be mindful that whenever we can, we're really thinking about the opportunity gaps that exist in our programming to make sure that all students have access to the rigorous and engaging opportunities that we have across this district. And one of the things we've always been talking about is AVID, which is a college and career readiness program. And so we've intentionally increased some of those supports, and all of our secondary programs are really focused on not having AVID just be a standalone program, but be strategies that are implemented school-wide. And so you'll hear more and more about the role of AVID in college and career readiness this year. All right.
I'll highlight 3 bullets. One is the levy renewal. The current operating levy that was passed in 2011 is sunsetting after 6 years, and so it's time to ask the voters to renew that levy. It accounts for about 15% of our annual budget, so it's an important priority for us this year. Dr. Kazmierczak and I have been making informational presentations around the community. We're pleased that the Chamber of Commerce and the Vadnais Heights Economic Development Corporation have already expressed their support and endorsement of that levy. There'll be many opportunities in the next month for community members to learn more about our operating levy. We're beginning a strategic planning process next week. This past summer, several administrators and school board members, Ms. Fahey and Dr. Newmaster, were part of that training. That process will begin next week. We have a group of about 30 community members and district employees who will engage in 3 heavy days of strategic planning. We'll be looking at identifying our mission, looking closely at the work we're currently doing, identifying our priorities and objectives, and then action steps that can be taken to bring a coherent plan to the board for approval of priorities for the next several years. So we're looking forward to that process beginning next week, and there'll be significant opportunity in October through January for community members to engage in that strategic planning process. So community members who really want to play a role in the direction our school district takes over the next 3 to 5 years should consider getting involved in our strategic planning process. And finally, upon the completion of the strategic planning process, we'll engage in a long-term facilities planning process. And we suspect that will come to the board during the 18-19 school year. As you'll learn shortly, we have significant enrollment increases in our schools, and planning for that continued enrollment increase is going to be critical to our future. That's all.
Mr. Wald, Ms. Paul, does anybody have any questions for either of our presenters or any discussion? I know we discussed this at our last work study meeting as well. All right, thank you very much. We'll turn to our next discussion item, D2, and that is the opening enrollment report, so don't go very far, Mr. Wald.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the board. The Minnesota Department of Education asked us to look at our enrollment October 1st, and that's our official enrollment for the year. And it'll fluctuate, and MD will be, we'll watch that, and that matters to them. But our October 1st enrollment is our critical measurement. We measure our enrollment right away, the very first day of school, as well as the end of the first week, and then we'll take another look at it October 1st and figure out where we're at. But I've prepared some information for you today that I think you'll find interesting. If you look at this first slide, it looks at our elementary enrollment the first week of school last year compared to the first week of school this year. And if you look at the first column after the school name, you see our current enrollment. The second column shows last year's enrollment, and then the difference and the percentage increase. And if you follow those columns down to the bottom, you see some interesting numbers. The bottom of the third column indicates 174 new students in our elementary schools. That's following last year's increase of about 125. So we're looking at roughly 300 new students in our elementary classrooms over a 2-year period. Looking at the highlighted elementary schools on this slide, you can see Lake Ayres had significant increase, 12.7%. The highlighted schools here are the schools that had enrollment increases of greater than 5%. Okay. Now again, October 1 we'll take another look at, but we don't anticipate our elementary numbers to change significantly. Onika, 7.2% with 46 new students. And so we expect enrollment in the northern part of our school district. There's a lot of housing starts up in Hugo, but to see those enrollments in our southern schools, such as Lake Ayres, Willow Lane, Lincoln at 29 new students this year is a significant number, over 4% growth this year. Our secondary schools are also seeing growth. And our middle schools are roughly even, but there's a significant difference between what's happening at Central and Sunrise. So Central, 37 new students, and that's a school that where space is a premium. Sunrise seeing a reduction of roughly the same. North Campus had a big 9th grade class move in this year, and so that group has moved through as a large cohort, and so that accounts for some of the significant amount of the increase at North Campus. Our Area Learning Center has increased significantly this year, especially in the senior class. So our high school is up 160, making our secondary 155 to the positive. So 329 students currently enrolled in our K-12 schools. This slide shows a little bit different information. It shows the changes in the cohort. So we look at what did the kindergarten enrollment from 2016, as that class moved up to first grade, what happened? Well, in that example, they lost 3 students. But when you look at the next 4 schools, significant growth in our grade 2 to 5 classrooms. The 9th grade class is plus 24. Now I said that's a large cohort as they move through our schools. It got even larger this year with 24 new students. And then 12th grade, 87 reflects about 40 students at Area Learning Center, and then our Transition Education Center students weren't factored into a cohort represented on this table last year, so those represent as new students to that cohort. This slide shows a trend of enrollment. So I mentioned earlier in this presentation there are 2 important dates. One is October 1st because that's when our enrollment becomes official with MDE, and the other date is the first week of school. And so the numbers I've been showing you have been first week of school, but just be aware that on this table we're showing October 1st data. And so you might see some numbers that don't quite match with what you saw in earlier slides. It's because that's September data. This is October 1 data from previous years. And if you look at the orange highlighted fields on the bottom, you can see that we had a slight decline going back to 2010-11, 2011-12. until 2013-14, when we saw an uptick in our enrollment. That stayed steady in 2014-15, and then our enrollment has started to increase pretty significantly over the last several years. Last year, roughly 1.5%, and then this year over 4%. So we're seeing a significant rise in enrollment with the housing starts that are occurring on the north end of our district. We don't expect that this is going to change significantly. We think we're going to continue to see enrollment increases. And we're feeling the crunch in our schools too. We're starting where we've always, many of our schools had an empty classroom that we could use for special purposes. We're starting to find a need for those classrooms as a grade level classroom. Tim Maurer will share some information regarding our early childhood program. You have a question first?
I just have one question about the enrollment trends. Does any of the increase factor in as we have students that flow out from White Bear? Are fewer students flowing out this year to a neighboring school district? Has that changed at all?
Yeah, that's a good question. We retain about 83% of our students, and that number seems to be, we haven't taken a real deep dive on that, but it looks to be about the same. Our open enroll into the district is up a bit, right? Like up maybe in the neighborhood of 25 to 30 students increase in open enrollment this year.
I just wondered if any percent of that increase were students who previously had open enrolled in a neighboring school district.
Yeah, I don't think I can't answer that right now.
And I have a question before Mr. Mora comes up. Do we have any feeling of what has caused the large percentage increase in students at Lake Ayres? Part one, and then part two, is Lake Ayres facing any space crunches based on this influx of larger numbers of students?
Yeah, well, Lake Ayres is full. Their classrooms are they're using all of their classrooms. So yeah, they're feeling a bit of a space crunch. But the houses on the south side continue to turn over, and that may have been part of it. Additionally, Matoska is full in some grade levels, and that might keep some students back in their assigned community school.
That makes sense. Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Wald.
All right, Mr. Maurer.
Thank you, Mr. Wald, Madam Chair, members of the board. I don't have too much detailed information to follow up Mr. Wald, except for the fact that our early childhood, and this encompasses both our early childhood family ed and our early childhood special ed programming. As of last week, the numbers in orange, they're kind of difficult to read. But yeah, we're following the same trend where we're seeing growth in all of our programming as well. So we'll allow as many kids in as we can fit. We do have a couple sections in early childhood that we still have space for it, so we do expect and hope that those sections will fill as the year continues to go on.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Does anyone have any questions for either Mr. Wald or Mr. Moore about their presentations? Thank you. Good news, more and more kids coming in. All right, we'll turn to our first operational item, E1, and that is action on parameters for the resolution for bond refinancing. Dr. Kazmierczak and Mr. Wald.
All right, thank you, Madam Chair.
Just as in your personal lives, having really good financial planners is an important part of preparing for your future. Same with the school district, and we work with Ehlers Incorporated as financial planners for the school district. And after consulting with them, we've recognized that we have an opportunity to refinance bonds issued in 2008, which will result in significant savings to taxpayers. And so we work with Greg Crow, Gary Olson, and Shelby McQuay at Ehlers. And Mr. Olson and Ms. McQuay are with us tonight, and they'll explain the bond pre-sale and parameters for refinancing. Shelby McQuay?
Welcome, Ms. McQuay.
Thank you. So just very briefly, I will go through the pre-sale report as an informational item, and then your action item tonight is actually the resolution that you'll pass tonight. So first, the pre-sale report, and I think you have that in front of you. The purpose of the pre-sale report is is it up on the screen?
Shelby, we have it on our We
You
have it here, yeah.
Great. Okay. So the purpose of the refunding is to refund your 2008A bonds, and those were your alternative facilities bonds that were issued in 2008. The maturities that we're refunding are the 2019 through the 2022 maturities. The existing bonds have an interest rate ranging from 4 to 4.75, and then the refunded bonds we're anticipating interest rates ranging from 1.1 to 1.6%, and I'm on page 1 under the purposes section. So the refunding will then produce savings of roughly $643,000, and this is an average annual savings of about $160,000, and you'll see a reduction in your tax levies between taxes payable in 2018 and taxes payable in 2021. And the savings from the refunding goes right back to the taxpayer, so it's a reduction in the levies and not money in the general fund. It's just a reduction in the levies, and that was the purpose of the refunding. So this is an advance refunding, meaning you cannot call the bonds until August 1 of 2018, and so the money will sit in escrow until 2018 when the refunded bonds can be fully paid off. So state statute grants you the authority to issue the bonds and then also grants you the authority to refund them. The term is for 4 years and 3 months, and the principal will be due in February of 2018 through 2022. The bonds will be offered without, so they'll be non-callable, so you will not have an opportunity to refund them again. This is the opportunity here that we're taking. Because you're issuing more than $10 million in debt, they won't be bank qualified. But you will have the state credit enhancement program, and you, as part of your resolution tonight, you will participate in the state credit enhancement program, which allows the district, in the event that the district is not able to pay on the bonds, then the state steps in and pays on your behalf, so you do not default on the bonds. Of course, they'll reduce your aid accordingly, but it is a measure that the underwriters like to see and provides essentially an insurance on the bonds. As part of the refunding process, you'll receive a rating, and currently your rating is a AA rated by Standard & Poor's. That is your credit enhanced rating is a AA+, so you carry the credit rating of the state credit enhancement program. You were last rated in May of 2015 on your last bond issue, and you'll go through that process again. Dr. Kazmerchak and Mr. Wold will represent the district and provide Standard & Poor's some financial information that they like to see, and answer any question that they have so that they'll be able to provide you a rating on these bonds. We're recommending general obligation bonds, and this will result in lower interest rates. The method of sale is a competitive, we'll solicit competitive bids. And then just a note here that there is a new rule that has come into play with the SEC that comes into play if you don't get 3 bids. Now, of course, we anticipate you getting 3 bids because of the good credit rating, and also you have a history of receiving 7+ bids on your previous bond issues. So White Bear Lake has a good reputation, and there are underwriters who like to purchase the bonds from the district. Beginning on page 3, some market conditions produce a premium pricing structure, which means that underwriters will pay additional for your bonds, and if that is the case, then your bond issue will be reduced. So the escrow account just notes that the bond proceeds will be put into escrow and invested accordingly so that you are able to generate the correct amount of money to refund the 2008A maturities at the time that they can be refunded in 2018. Just a little different scenario here. This is a parameters resolution that you'll adopt tonight, and generally the case is that when we solicit bids for the bonds, you'll award on the lowest true interest cost, and you'll award at the meeting that night. Your October meeting falls on Columbus Day. The markets are closed, and so to allow you additional flexibility, you're going to adopt a parameters resolution, which requires that the underwriters save at least 3% on the bonds, and so we've set forth some parameters that on the evening or after the bids are taken, the board chair and the superintendent will sign off on that, and then at the next board meeting, the board will ratify that sale. So a review of existing debt. This was your outstanding issue that will generate the most savings, and we're monitoring all other issues, and you have 4 other issues that are both outstanding and callable, and we're monitoring those. The savings aren't there yet, but we'll continue to monitor those for savings to the district. The next section is on continuing disclosure, and because of the level of debt outstanding, the SEC just requires certain reporting, and the district has already contracted with Ellers to provide that reporting on behalf of the district. As part of the issue 2, you'll undertake some arbitrage monitoring, and that just ensures that you're not issuing tax-exempt debt and then investing that in taxable securities to generate income for the district. The IRS places certain limitations on that for obvious reasons, and then we just need to make sure that's monitored and no additional revenue is being generated. So this is, of course, an advanced refunding, and the risk there is that the market will go down and you'll save more in the future. This we've been watching this issue for some time. The market conditions are right, and we anticipate that this is the best time to save the most amount of money for the taxpayers. The other service providers are listed there at the bottom of page 4. Your bond attorney, paying agent, rating agency, CPA, escrow verification agent, escrow agent, and the bidding agent for the securities in the escrow. So the timeline, just a little different because it is a parameters resolution. Your pre-sale review is tonight. You'll distribute the official statement, which is the terms for the bond issue that the underwriters will carefully look over, and they state the district finances, the tax base of the district, and additional information that the underwriters like to see as part of their purchase of the bonds. In addition, that official statement will be used by the rating agency to generate the current rating on the new issue. And that way, during that conference with the rating agency, we'll visit with Dr. Kazmierczak and Mr. Wold to represent the district and answer any questions. On October 4th, we'll solicit bids and then evaluate the proposals and award on the lowest true interest cost to generate the most savings. And then the board chair and then the business manager or superintendent will award the sale. And then on October 9th at your next board meeting, that is when you'll ratify the sale. The estimated closing date is the day that the money will be deposited in an escrow. That's October 25th. And that it'll be in escrow between October and then August 1 of 2018, at which point it will be there to redeem the 2008 bond issue. The contacts are listed there, and then I'll just walk through some of the attachments. Beginning on page 6 is just the sources and uses, which outlines the par amount of the bonds, the discount, and then the cost of issuance, which is our fee, the bond attorney, rating agency, county fees, and paying agent fees, and the total uses there at $11,580,000. On the next page, I would just point you to the principal and the coupon. So the outstanding maturities are listed there under the principal, and then the coupon or the interest rate of about 4 to 4.75%. And then on the next page, page 8, you can see that the coupons for the new issue range from 1.1 to 1.6, or an average true interest cost of 1.68 is what we're assuming on this issue, given current market conditions. And finally, on page 9 is the savings to the district. So you'll see a future value savings of almost $650,000, and that's an annual savings, a reduction on your levy of approximately $160,000. The next 2 pages just outline the escrow cash flow, or the final page outlines the escrow cash flow. And I'd be happy to answer any questions that you have.
Thank you, Ms. McQuay. Before we get into any questions or discussion, we do have a recommendation that we approve the resolution authorizing the approval of the sale of general obligation alternative facilities refunding bonds, covenanting and obligating the district to be bound by and to use the provisions of Minnesota Statute Section 126C.55 to guarantee the payment of the principal and interest on the bonds as presented. I'm not going to ask the clerk to read the entire resolution in our packets. We'd be here till 3 in the morning, but we do have the full resolution in our packets. Is there a motion to approve this resolution?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, second. Now let's open it for any discussion or questions. You have a very thorough presentation, Ms. McQuay. Thank you. Does anyone? Yes, Mr. Kimball?
Yeah. Well, first, I learned a new term called arbitrage monitoring, and I'm going to use that tomorrow somehow in conversation.
Okay.
So it really sinks in. So a couple questions. We're going from 4 to 4.75 down to 1.1 to 1.6. Just curious, as a taxpayer, this was initiated in 2008. So since then, I'm guessing it might have, the possibility of doing this could have come up at earlier, but maybe at 2% or 3% or something. We chose to wait. And then along that lines, I thought you said something to the effect of if you're only allowed perhaps to do this one time during the life of the bonds. Am I correct with that?
So 2 pieces there. The state requires that if you're going to refund bonds, you need to save the taxpayers at least 3%. And so that is what is in your parameters resolution. You cannot refund the bonds if you don't save at least 3%. But we've been monitoring the issue, and the savings you're anticipated to get right now under the conditions is over 5%. So in terms of, and that's the savings on the outstanding maturities that you still have left to pay on. Originally, when this was issued in 2008, it wrapped around your other debt, and so a lot of the larger maturities were pushed into the 2018 through 2022 years. And so what that did for you on your refunding opportunity is allow the most savings to be generated on these last 4 maturities. To answer your second question on, I just had it.
Only allowed to do it one time?
You're only allowed to advance refund a bond once. You can do a current refunding several times, but this is an advance refunding because you're issuing the refunding bond in advance of more than 90 days in advance of the call date, which is August 1st, 2018. And so federal law only allows one refunding. Is it federal or state?
State law.
State law only allows one refunding, but you could do a current refunding after that, although we're issuing these bonds as non-callable. It's only 4 years. The savings would be minimal if you did it again, given the interest rate environment, and you generate a little better interest rate if they're non-callable.
Couple things. We do, on a regular basis, every 6 months at least, monitor all your debt service, looking for these refunding opportunities, waiting to find the right time to do this. And one of the reasons that makes this work better as you get closer to the call date is that bond that's maturing in 2019. When you issued it, it was an 11-year bond, so it was carrying an interest rate like an 11-year loan. Now, you're getting to 2018, it's only a 1-year bond, so you've slid down the interest rate scale. So as you get closer to the call date, it generally works better as you get closer to the call date. The danger is if you wait too long and interest rates jump up, then you lose some of your savings. So one of the things we typically do is something that we call a sensitivity analysis, where we compare the savings on waiting until you get to the call date compared to now, and say what's the interest rate risk of waiting? How much could the interest rate go up? And we monitor that as well. And when that interest rate gap gets small enough, then we say this is probably now a good time to pull the trigger and actually do the refunding.
And then, thank you. And then, just to clarify, I think you said this $350,000 reduction in levy, that's a taxpayer savings. It's nothing to the district, but it's certainly a great thing for the district, and it certainly seems like a great statement to make to the district residents that we are doing this, especially around the time of a levy coming up. But is there a cost, some cost just in the transaction, I imagine, but.
The cost of issuance are listed on page 6. And so the cost of issuance for doing this is roughly $71,000, and that will go for the district's rating, our fee, the bond attorney fee, county certificates, paying agent. So there is a fee to do this.
But the savings that we're projecting here is net of paying all those fees.
Oh, okay.
So this is the savings we're projecting is after paying the cost of issuance.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any other questions? Ms. Newmaster?
I'm just grateful there are experts in this field, and the only way my brain wraps around it is if you compare having a home mortgage and looking for the right time to refi, and is it worth it? And you've got to have a certain percentage or it doesn't make sense. And in this case, it's benefiting those of us who are taxpayers. And that's a good thing for PR. And it doesn't put anything in the school's coffers, but it saves the taxpayer. So my simple mind got that?
Correct.
All right. Does
Thank
anyone,
you
anyone
for your-
else have any questions or discussion for Ms. McQuay or Mr. Olson? All right. We have a motion and a second. This calls for a roll call vote.
Kimball?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Newberg?
Aye.
Newmaster?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Fahey? Aye.
The resolution passes. A huge thanks to Ms. McQuay and Mr. Olson for working with Dr. Kazmierczak and Mr. Wald to save our district taxpayers a lot of money. Thank you so much. Right, we'll turn to our next action item, E2, and that is action on the partnership with the White Bear Center for the Arts for this coming school year. Mr. Wald.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the board. We're asking you tonight to move to approve with the White Bear Center for the Arts for the 2017-18 school year. Since 2011, we've had a partnership with the White Bear Center for the Arts to provide art experiences for all of our elementary students. They'll provide 6 art experiences, a total of 6 art experiences for each classroom, a total of 1,074 lessons. That will include 3 watercolor lessons, 2 that are focused on developing drawing skills, and 1 multicultural 3D lesson. The entire cost of the program will be $85,200. As you know, we've discussed the demand for art instruction at our elementary schools, and that is a topic that will be studied this year and might well be informed by our strategic planning process over the next several months. But until then, at this point, we'll be continuing to access the White Bear Center for the Arts for that instruction, and we're asking you to approve the contract.
Thank you, Mr. Wald. So we have a recommendation that we approve the contract with the White Bear Center for the Arts for the 2017-2018 school year. The contract is set forth in our packet. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Kimball. Is there a second? I'll second that. Any discussion or questions for Mr. Wald? Mr. Chapman?
Yeah, when we went over this in the work study, I thought there was a figure of $70-some thousand. Did that number change at all, or am I totally off off base on this. I thought there was a different figure in that, in the proposed contract.
Yeah, that initial estimate was based on previous expenses. When we multiplied the number of sections that we have this year times the same rate, and so it's $400 for a day of instruction, and that includes about average of 5.5 lessons.
So the number did change from what was in that.
It did change
earlier
from that
version.
initial
Okay.
draft of the contract. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Wald or discussion? All right, we have, Ms. Fahey, go ahead.
Just, I know that we did discuss this extensively at the work study, but I think it's important to point out, too, that we did receive a letter from the White Bear Lake Art Department expressing their desire for licensed teachers to deliver K-5 art standards, plus support from the White Bear Center for the Arts. And as discussed at that meeting, the strategic planning process gives us a perfect chance to look at a range of programs. And no one is advocating for taking art out of the elementary, and no one is saying that the partnership with the White Bear Center for the Arts is not a valuable partnership. But I think we have a very thoughtful letter from the White Bear Lake art teachers, which is included in that August 28th work study packet, if anyone is interested in looking at that.
Right, and we have a great partnership with the Center for the Arts in lots of different areas, and our Students Access Center for the Arts. And of course, the folks at the Center for the Arts are great advocates of art instruction, and they, as we, would like to see great art instruction to our elementary students.
Any other questions for Mr. Wald or comments? Right, we have a motion and a second. This calls for a roll call vote.
Kimball?
Aye.
Mullen?
Aye.
Newberg?
Aye.
Newmaster?
Aye.
Chapman?
Aye.
Fahey? Aye.
And the motion carries. Thank you so much, Mr. Wald.
Thank you.
We'll turn to our next action item, E4, and that's action on calling a special board meeting on September 25th, excuse me. Dr. Kazmierczak.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think the first one is September 19th, correct? The one regarding the strategic plan?
Yep, I skipped over E3, so that's calling a special work study meeting on September 19th.
So on September 19th at 7 p.m. here in the community room at District Center, Dr. William Cook from the Cambrian Group, who is leading our strategic planning session, will have a session with the school board to walk through the strategic planning process and answer any questions that you might have as that work begins. So that's the purpose of the meeting. I suspect it will take an hour and a half to 2 hours, but that's the purpose. Dr. Cook will be here to work with the board so that you're all familiar and comfortable with the process as it unfolds.
So we have a recommendation that we approve a special work study meeting for the board for September 19th at 7 p.m. for the purpose of discussing a strategic planning process with Dr. Cook from the Cambrian Group. Is there a motion to approve? A motion by Ms. Newmaster. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Chapman. Any questions or discussion? Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Right, that motion carries. We'll turn to what I think is our final operations item, E4, and that is action on calling a special school board meeting for September 25th. Either Dr. Kazmierczak?
I'll take it, yep. Thank you, Madam Chair. So this is an annual meeting at the end of the month in September to approve our preliminary levy. So the process goes like this. Last Friday, the initial levy documents were available to districts. There will be several changes in all likelihood throughout the month of September. The school board will take a look at the initial levy documents at the end of the month and approve the preliminary levy, and then in December the final levy will be presented for approval. This is not the operating levy. This is the just our annual levy that the school board approves every single year. So this is a normal meeting that we set as a special meeting just before a work study meeting.
Thank you, Dr. Kazmierczak. So we have a recommendation that we approve a special board meeting for September 25th, 2017 at 5:15 p.m. That would be 15 minutes before our work study meeting that evening for the purpose of certification of 2017 payable 2018 proposed property tax levy. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Mullen. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Kimball. Any questions, discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? All right, we have a special meeting on September 25th at 5:15, and we now turn to our final item of the night, and that is board forum, an opportunity for members to share information about upcoming events or things of interest to the community. Does anyone have anything for board forum? Ms. Fahey?
I do, and Dan Rozier kind of jumped the gun on me, but I was going to report as the Willow liaison about the new playground at Willow. I dropped in Friday to look at it in action as they were trying to round up the 83 kindergartners and line them up for lunch. So I tied lots of shoes and dried tears. But there is one person who really spearheaded that effort, and that is one of our parents. I'd like to mention Patty Erickson. Even though her children had left Willow, she came to every PTO last year. She worked on the fundraising. She liaised with businesses. She really spearheaded that effort, and she was determined that there was going to be that magnificent playground at Willow. So thank you to Patty Erickson.
Well, thank you for sharing that, Ms. Fahey. Does anyone else have anything for board forum? Mr. Kimball?
Yep, a couple things. I just want to welcome again Ashley and McKenna. They stayed for a fairly long meeting, and they're either going to be inspired to become bond finance investors, or they're going to wish they'd never took this position on if they're going to have all of this financial information all the time. So it's great to have you aboard. There were a couple of retirement announced in the packet, and we just want to wish well to a pupil support assistant at North Campus who is retiring after 20 years. Best wishes and thank you to them. I think we counted 138 new staff, and that's just remarkable. We saw the presentation and saw all of their credentials, so welcome to all new staff. I know they're required to watch the board meeting on cable, so welcome from all of us to you, and best wishes to you and to all of the staff. Sounds like the year is starting well, and we wish everyone a great year. Tom Wichurek, I think I said that name right. We might have to have students do a video about your name. You mentioned that big thing is payroll, the first payroll, and I know there's a lot of staff really hoping that it all works out in your first debut. As far as, I just want to go back to the demographics of the new staff report. I didn't think of it at the time, but I know that we saw the demographics of the new staff, but I think there was a reference to it seems consistent with Minnesota's demographics, but I just thought it's probably more important that our staff reflect the demographics of our district students, and maybe it does. I don't know what our current total, I know we're probably 80% approximately white students in the district, and I'm curious, I don't know what our total breakdown is, not new staff, but total staff, and I guess one goal would be to kind of be close in that regard. And then finally, with Mr. Marr, amazing things happening in the community ed. It's just like, wow. So, but I'm just going to throw one little thing because I only have a couple more months to do it. And now I have 2 tennis player student liaisons to back me in our hope that those pickleball players will raise money and get pickleball courts and stop drawing lines on our tennis courts. It really confuses us when we're playing out there and there's these other lines.
Mr. Kimball, my understanding is there are pickleball lines, but there are also tennis lines, so it's up to you tennis players to figure out which are the tennis lines and which are the pickleball lines.
We've had those lines for decades.
So you just have a few more lines. Wine. All right, does anyone else have something for board forum? Ms. Newmaster.
I just want to very briefly mention that I'm the liaison to community ed, and or community services. I can't possibly keep up with attending all the cool things they're doing, but I did attend the open house at the senior center, and that was really impressive. All of the activities that the volunteers offer and all the services they offer, and I'm a senior too, and I can see that it's a huge untapped group that is just waiting to be tapped even more than they have been, because they're great volunteers in the community, and I think they'll be a good demographic to keep tapping. So thanks to the community services for all kinds of cool things.
Ms. Newmaster, anyone else for board forum? Right, seeing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Our usual person who raises motions to adjourn is not here. All right, Ms. Fahey moved, and I second we are adjourned. Thank you.
Never get a chance to do that.
Yeah.
This is the new flyer. Kim, Marge.